have joined us, the panelists and our partner organizers, for the celebration of the United Nations World Radio Day, which is happening tomorrow on the 13th. So this meeting with the press is basically to underscore the value of radio, particularly on three major themes. This has been initiated by the UNESCO with the proclamation of World Radio Day. Every year there is a certain theme. It has focused on youth. It has focused on trying to promote the disaster resilience objectives. And this year the focus is on sports. Sports for peace and development initiatives, coverage of sports, particularly in traditional sports, as well as the importance of sports and gender equality. So we have been able to have this special press con panel in order to focus on committing everybody else to help, particularly all the different radio stations, as in the call of the resolution that was sponsored by Senator Cynthia Villar. And World Radio Day in the Philippines begins today with this launch. And we're very happy that Senator Cynthia Villar is with us to start the press con and meeting and establishing the values of the program. Senator Cynthia Villar.
A very blessed good morning to all of you. I am very happy to be here for the forum in observance of UNESCO World Day by 2018 with the theme Sports in Development and Promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. And I wish to welcome to the Senate Mrs. Guidote Alvarez, representing UNESCO Director General Madam Audrey Asulay, and of course we have here former Senator Harrison Alvarez, and of course the mother of our Senate President and the wife of former Senate President also, Mrs. Ping Pimentel, and of course the President ng Kapisanan ng mga Broadcasters sa Pilipinas, Roberto Nicdao, and the Executive Director of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, Executive Director Rico Pableo, and from the Climate Change Commission, ASEC Romel Antonio Orgueña, and of course our panelists, our guest athletes, and all who are here this morning. Thank you to all the individuals and partners which put this forum in observance of UNESCO World Radio Day 2018 together. We welcome all of you here in the Senate of the Philippines, and we are glad to partner with you in this discussion under the theme Sports in Development and Promoting the Sustainable Development Goals. Many would probably take some time to connect the areas of sports and sports broadcasting to the bigger issues and concerns such as diversity, gender equality, peace and development, and yes, SDGs. But just as everything in the world are interlinked and interconnected, there is a linkage and connection. And this year's theme, Radio and Sport, aims exactly that, to promote the inseparable relationship between sports and gender, as well as how improved gender equality in sports broadcasting can lead to greater freedom of expression for all. I strongly believe that radio station and broadcasters are in a very good position to promote any issues and concern, including the ones I cited earlier, because radio has far greater reach than any other media here in the Philippines. We senators know that because when we are in far-flung areas, radio is the only one that can cover our activities or events. And people there do not have television, computers, or latest mobile phone gadgets. In some areas, they do not have a signal. Radio is such a powerful medium, especially in our archipelagos such as the Philippines, with over 7,600 islands. And I know you will agree with me that sports broadcasts are among the most popular among radio listeners. Kapag may laban si Senator Pacquiao, for instance, marami ang nakatutok sa mga radio nila para pakinggan ang mga nangyayari. Of course, we cannot deny that Filipinos are not only sports-minded, but sports fans, especially basketball and boxing. Most Filipinos do not only follow local sport, but international ones as well. The coverage of international or regional sports events are ongoing. Today, it's the Winter Olympics. At talagang lumalabas ang ating patriotism sa mga sporting events na yan. We really cheer for our national teams. Having said all that, there is really no denying that through radio and sports, we can make a difference and we can send powerful messages. Through various sporting events, we have the ability to unite the hearts and minds of people everywhere. Not only to rally for the sports people or teams they support, but to send insightful messages and inspiring stories that transcend genders. I would like to believe that here in the Philippines, we have a balanced news coverage, both men and women's sport events as well as male and female athletes. The victory of female athletes is amply covered. I remember there was a lot of noise when Hidilyn Diaz won the silver medal in weightlifting in Rio Olympics recently. Of course, the victories of other great Filipina athletes such as Asia's sprint queen Teresa Debuque, long jump queen Elma Muros, champion bowler Arian Sardenia, among many others. The matches of Filipina volleyball players, even in university, are also aired extensively. So I commend the local radio stations for that. Isa pa, hindi rin papayag ang mga empowered Filipinas na hindi pansinin ang tagumpay nila sa kanilang sports. As the author of the Magna Carta of Women, needless to say, I champion women empowerment and the protection of their rights, including gender equality, of course. Even in agriculture, I always emphasize that women farmers are equally important as their male counterparts. Sabi nga, napakaraming women farmers in the world, and many of them are even heads of their families. The Sustainable Development Goal number 5 to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls is among my priorities and advocacy. So any hint of discrimination in all forms and manifestations, whether in agriculture, environment, or sports, rest assured that I will be at the front in confronting and addressing it. Lately, yung ating mga women domestic helper in Kuwait, meron nang nalagay sa freezer. Kaya pinabad na po ang, I would say na dapat simulan natin yung ban sa domestic helper. Kasi sila talaga yung tumutira sa bahay ng mga amo at hindi na natin nalalaman kung anong nangyayari doon habang sila ay kasama ng kanilang mga amo na iba naman ang culture kaysa mga Pilipino. They have this culture na pag ikaw ay katulong ay slave ka na. And I believe sports broadcasters and journalists are our allies and partners in ensuring that we achieve our SDGs or any other goals we have in diversity, gender equality, peace, and development. In fact, yung ating pong DZRH ay aking pong very active partners sa aming Manila Bay Cleanup. And lahat po na activity namin sa Manila Bay Cleanup, kasama namin ang DZRH. Tandaan ninyo lahat, hindi lang kayo pang sports. Malaki ang papel na inyong gagampanan sa buhay ng mga tao, sa pagsulong ng bansa, at sa mga isyong pinakaharap ng buong mundo. more power, and mabuhay po kayo lahat.
Thank you very much, Senator Villar, for championing through your special resolution the value of radio broadcasting. And the message from Ms. Audrey Azoulay, who is the Director General of UNESCO, I will read so that we put into perspective the celebration worldwide of World Radio Day. And here is their message. In 2018, UNESCO is dedicating World Radio Day to the theme of radio and sports. The radio is a powerful means to transmit the enthusiasm of sport events. It is also a means to convey the values of fair play, teamwork, and equality in sport. Radio can help combat racist and xenophobic stereotypes that are, alas, expressed both on and off the field. It allows a broad range of traditional sports to be covered, far beyond the elite teams. It provides the opportunity to nurture diversity as a force for dialogue and tolerance. The fight for gender equality is central to this effort. According to the report of the Global Media Monitoring Project supported by UNESCO, only 4% of sports media content is dedicated to women's sport. Only 12% of sports news is presented by women. UNESCO is working to improve the coverage of women's sports, to combat gender discrimination on the airwaves, and to promote equal opportunities in sports media. The task is immense. On World Radio Day, let us mobilize to make radio an increasingly independent and pluralistic media. Let us join forces to celebrate the potential of sports radio in furthering development and peace. We shall be having in the forum a very special panel of champion athletes, and most of them are women that are being presented here. Of course, Senator has already mentioned Hideline Diaz, who is here. We also have Akiko Thompson, who is a champion swimmer. And we have, of course, the celebrated, not just as a sports player, but also the face, I think, of woman sports coverage. And of course, we have also the Olympic awardee for women sports leader internationally, which is Cynthia Carion. And Cynthia, in fact, is bringing to showcase women, Arnis women. Yeah. So now, before we hear from them, their experience, their concerns, their hopes, we would like to call on the solidarity messages of our partners in the organization of World Radio Day observance. We will call first on Mr. Ruperto Nicdao Jr., who is chairman of the Kapisanan of Broadcasters, and at the same time also with DCRH. Incidentally, you will hear this entire proceeding at DCRH Radio Balintataw starting tonight for 3 nights.
Thank you, Congress. Good morning, Senator Villar. Good morning, Mrs. Capitell, Senator Alba. First, I'd like to, first of all, thank Mr. Senator for filing the Senate bill declaring February 30th as World Radio Day and the observance of World Radio Day in the Philippines. The KBP has been supportive of the UNESCO's World Radio Day since it was first declared by the Director General of UNESCO. At that time it was declared, I was fortunate enough to be a member of the National Commission for the UNESCO Information and Communications Commission. And we were in full support, and every year we would support World Radio Day by airing public service announcements and featuring in our radio programs in member KBP stations, inviting various personalities to discuss about the theme for World Radio Day for each particular year. And in the past, we've discussed, for example, the importance of radio for disaster preparedness, and it's still very important. As the Senator said, the Philippines being our archipelago, radio is the best way to get information about pending disaster to the farthest communities in the country. The KBP is fortunate to have a lot of members who are in the smallest communities around the country. Community stations are all over the place, members of KBP, and these are the means by which we are able to inform the smallest communities for any pending disaster and how they can adapt and protect themselves from disaster. This year, I understand from the proclamation that the theme for this year is about sports. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone across the table, all this beautiful and idol boys in the past. Diane, by the way, is not just a sportscaster. I followed her career when she was a champion tennis player with her sister. Congratulations, Diane. She was the best tennis player, I think, before this new batch of together with this. I used to watch her matches at the Rizal Memorial Coliseum before with the father. And of course, Akiko, I did it, and the rest of them. The gentlemen across the table are no sportsmen. We try to be sportsmen, but we admire the success of everyone across the table, including Cynthia. And this year we commit to feature sports in our member radio stations programs. We will be asking our members to invite various personalities to talk about how sports has been able to foster not only lifestyle changes, but also to unite the country. I think Mrs. Alvarez has mentioned that sports has been a way for uniting, especially when there's good news about sports. It's been a very unifying factor for the country. We were all united with the Heidelin won the silver medal. The entire country was euphorious about that. But I just want to say that this bill is very important for our industry because radio is facing some challenges, as you know, because of technology. A lot, especially among the youth. The youth are, of course, using more popular technologies right now, the digital technology. But I'd like to say that radio has been adapting to this. Even radio is not just what you have known in the past. Radio has been adapting to this new technology by streaming our programs as well. So the youth, especially, are being reached now by radio through not just the free-to-air platform, but also through the digital platform. So again, I just want to express, in behalf of the members of the KBP and our network, Manila Broadcasting Company, our full support for World Radio Day, and congratulations again to the athletes across the table. Thank you very much.
The Earthsavers, having been honored as UNESCO Artists for Peace and the sixth in the world as UNESCO Dream Center. The founding chairman is former Senator Gerson Alvarez, who also chairs the Advisory Board of Climate Institute.
This is Vidar Bing, and these famous sports ladies join. Then, well, say I not recognize, because I don't go much for sports, although I have it always in the mind. I must congratulate for calling our attention to one of the most powerful civilizing institutions. Because while it's true that over 2,000 years ago we printed the Bible and people began to read, kukunti lang yung nakakabasa. Ngunit nung buksan ng graduate, naging invento, pumalat yan. Maraming tao na buksan ng kaisipan. All of us became informed. Informed in politics, informed in culture, informed in the arts, informed in agriculture. Ang sabi nga ni Mrs. Villar, radio has been a powerful tool, like an atom bomb of knowledge. Pero kulang. Was about out of the 7 billion people in the earth, on the face of the earth, and radio is the biggest information institution. 1 billion do not get the services of radio. Kaya maski na pinagbubuti ng DCRH, kulang pa rin. That is the most extensive. That's why we celebrate Radio Day and sports, because we try to link up the achievement of mankind. Radio, yung tulong ng tao ay tinabalat natin sa lahat ng pinakamadaling pamamaraan. Ako nga, nakasakay ko sa taxi. Minsan kinausap ako ng taxi driver, kayo ba si Erso? Nagtaka ako. Natagal na akong hindi sinadog, kilala yung boses ko sa radyo. E di, talagang malawak ang kakayahan ng radyo. Ngunit kulang, at kailangan lalong palawakin pa, kaya yung UNESCO ay nag-aabala yung tinutulak ito, at salamat sa mga senador na nakakakunawa at tinutulak din natin. At bakit si sports? Well, sports is one of the highest achievement according to classical Greek civilization. Remember Greece, di ba Greece? Hindi na natin matandaan yung mga the great plays of the great politicians, Pericles, Greece. But remember that they had the Olympics. Ginagaya natin itong Olympics. Ito, the lintik na Olympics, pag nag-Olympics sa North Korea at saka South Korea, we might have peace. Baka hindi pagpumbahan yung dalawa, hindi tayo madadamay. So radio and sports are one of the finest achievements of humanity. One is knowledge building, one is making man into a godlike creature. So he is able to fly like a bird, swim like a fish, and think of many things that has made this wonderful world. I'm happy to have been invited by Mrs. Alvarez. She always insists on inviting me to her programs, but I always insist on being there. To this event, and to meet all of you, especially Mr. Tiglao, who is a teacher, but he doesn't realize it, and the institutions here of arts, National Commission for Climate Change, so issue of survival. Kaya itong radio is our tool, our weapon, our highway to civilization, and perhaps peace. Peace. Maraming salamat.
Call on the Deputy Director of Climate Change Commission, also ASEC, who's representing Secretary Manny de Guzman, the Climate Change Commission.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Ms. Gilote, Senator Villar, Ms. Pinedel, the illustrious personalities and resource persons. Very respectful nod to the ladies, the women athletes across the table. The Climate Change Commission thanks Earth Savers as well as Senator Villar for inviting us to this forum. We align ourselves with the objectives of the Senate Resolution 1178, recognizing World Radio Day on February 13th of every year, and coming up with activities appropriate to the celebration. At the start, we might wonder what the connection is with climate change and climate change action with radio and sports, but we feel there is a very strong connection. One of the sustainable development goals, after all, is climate action. And one of the feedbacks we've had as a government agency was the need for us to raise awareness of climate action as well as remedies and what actions we can do as a government and as citizens, ordinary citizens, to promote and advance the climate change agenda. Radio and sports is very appropriate, not only in coverage of traditional sports, gender equality in sports broadcasting, sports for peace and development initiatives. We feel that when people are engaged in sports, generally they're not at war. And therefore, not only does sports promote peace, the connection of radio and sports is important. It is very important, mainly because radio is by far has the widest coverage, especially in our country, the Philippines, where it's archipelagic nature. In spite of social media and internet, it's still radio, which is the greatest reach in the most remotest hinterlands. So therefore, we are in the Climate Change Commission are very proud to align ourselves and support the initiatives of Earth Savers and partnership also with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts in coming up with a radio broadcast seeking to promote the Sustainable Development Goals. The Climate Change Commission and the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, through the use of radio, we feel can communicate better the issues surrounding climate change, as well as in the preservation of our cultural heritage. We in the Climate Change Commission have brought to fore the issue, sometimes forgotten, of cultural heritage and the preservation of cultural heritage in issues concerning climate change. So therefore, we lend our support to the initiative of Earth Savers and to the UNESCO World Radio Day 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asin Cuenca. And actually, the CCC is initiating with us what we call a soap opera on the SDGs together with NCCA, and may we call on the Executive Director of NCCA, Mr. Rico Pable.
Thank you, Ma'am Cecil Alvarez, and Honorable Villar, wife of former Senator Pimentel, former Senator Alvarez, my idol, Diane Castelio, and Enrico Thompson, because I think during my early, when I was still young, I always saw you being the great ladies in tennis and swimming. Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Sports make us always young. Anyway, I would like to congratulate everyone for coming here this morning. When we talk of radio, this is a very important avenue for promoting culture and arts, because the National Commission for the Culture and Arts having the mandate to preserve, protect, and promote culture, I believe that the radio, aside from other media, means of promoting culture and arts, very essential, especially in our times today. And I think the young sports achievers that we have are also at gain their talent and their competence because of these elder athletes that we have. So I think sports is not only a thing, but sports is a cultural. It is something that is part of the Filipino culture, having this kind of sports that we have in the Philippines. Even basketball is becoming a cultural sport in the Philippines, aside from swimming, tennis, lifting, and everything that we see that Filipinos do are cultural. So I believe that this is high time that we have to look into this area of cultural development, not only on the 7 arts that we're celebrating this month, the Forest Arts Month. We're celebrating about visual arts, about music, dance, architecture, drama, literature, literary, all of these arts. But there is also the physical, cultural area that we have to look into. Kasi sometimes we're only looking as art, yung cultural, yung mga visual, yung makikita natin sa labas, gamama, and the national artists. But I do believe that when you talk of culture, itong arts, itong sports, is basically part of the Filipino culture. Kaya nga may reflection ako kahapon when I was there in Baguio. You know, Baguio is now considered as a creative city. One of the recognition of the UNESCO after vegan being considered as the heritage city. We have another great recognition by the UNESCO that Baguio is a creative city. And that's one of the pride that we have as Filipinos, that after all, we are really creative people and we are really good people. So maybe siguro, we can also give importance on sports, aside from all these heritage and all these cultural things that we are so much focusing, but we fail to see. Especially, I think this will be the avenue wherein the young generation, the millennials, can be brought into the whole arena of cultural characteristic or cultural practices that we have in the Philippine sports. It's a good avenue. So I hope and I pray that we can continue this kind of promotion, and we are very supportive in this, and we are very grateful that you have opened up this avenue for the young ones to see that after all, sports is part of the Filipino lifestyle. And we can assure you that we will be supporting you very much, because for now, the National Commission for the Cultural Art is gearing towards the grassroots development, establishment of the culture for the Council for the Culture and the Arts, because I believe this is the one way of bringing about the Filipino culture in the entire archipelago. That culture and art is not only in Manila, but even to the part lang in Batanes and Holo. So for now, we are slowly building up the different Council for the Culture and the Arts and the different LGUs. And hopefully, we can integrate over there and the standing of Filipino sports and integrate the sports as part of the Filipino culture. Kaya nga may kasabihan, culture makes people, people makes culture. So it's always important for us that we should be aware and work for it if we believe that peace and unity is possible for our country. Good morning, maraming salamat po sa lahat, and may God bless us all.
Thank you, Director Pableo, because actually, well, we're very happy that the CCC and NCCA are joining forces so we can have a soap opera on sustainable development goals. And now the proclamation of World Radio Day was inscribed in a UN resolution. So the message of Mr. Secretary General Guterres is going to be delivered by Teresa Debuque, who is the Information Officer of the United Nations Information Center.
Thank you, Cecile, Senator Villar, Mrs. Pimentel, former Senator Alvarez, our celebrity sports achievers. Idly is, I'm a fan of it. So I'm here to read the message of the Secretary General, and if any of you knows him, he does not issue a message on every international day, not like Mr. Ban before him. So this indicates to you the importance that he accords to the use of radio and sports for peace and development. So this is his message. Radio reaches the widest audience in the world. In an era of dramatic advances in communications, radio retains its power to entertain, educate, inform, and inspire. It can unite and empower communities and give voice to the marginalized. This year, with the Winter Olympics now underway, we also recognize the many ways in which sports broadcasting brings people together around excitement and achievement. On World Radio Day, let us celebrate both radio and sports as ways of helping people achieve their full potential. Before I give the floor back to Cecile, I would like again to thank Senator Villar for sponsoring this Senate resolution designating the 13th of February as National Radio Day, and I will be sure to inform the Office of the Secretary General of this. Thank you very much, Senator.
much. With all of those solidarity messages, we will finally be able to hear the stories of the celebrated champions in sports. Of course, everybody knows that Heidelin Diaz was the 2016 Summer Olympics weightlifting medalist, and that was in 53 kilogram weight division, ending the Philippines what they call 20-year Olympic medal drought. And it was a woman who made it possible. So, Heidelin, ikaw na mag-balita ng iyong mga karanasan, ano masasabi mong nagawa talaga ng Olympics para sa iyo? Alam namin na biglang na ngayon, na-promote dahil kitang-kita nila ang galing mo sa Olympics. Heidelin.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Salamat po, Miss Cecil, sa pag-invite sa akin dito. Salamat, Senator Cynthia Villar, then Mrs. Pimentel, and former Alvarez, Senator Alvarez. Salamat po. Nagsimula ako sa weightlifting as a young girl from Mampang, Zamboanga City. 5th of 6 children of Eduardo Diaz and Emelita Diaz. Si Eduardo ay isang tricycle driver and si Emelita Diaz isang housewife. Naalala ko dati, nagkakarga ako ng tubig papunta sa bahay namin kasi walang tubig sa Mampang. Tapos nagbebenta din ako ng gulay, nagbebenta ako ng isda. So, kasi dating farmer ang tatay ko. Then, nakapasok ako sa weightlifting by curiosity na. Nakita ko yung mga pinsan ko na nagde-demo sila ng weightlifting technique gamit ang kitil. Then, doon, na-inlove ako sa sports na yun. Doon nag-start, doon nagsimula ang pagbabago ng buhay ko. Kasi naisip ko na ang weightlifting, ito talaga para sa akin. Dahil na-feel ko yung love. Kasi introvert ako as an athlete. So, as an introvert, then competitive, ayaw kong magpatalo sa mga pinsan ko. Lalo sa basketball, volleyball, badminton. So, sabi ko dito sa weightlifting. Tapos mga lalaking pinsan ko, lalaki. So, talo talaga ako sa basketball. So sabi ko sa weightlifting, kahit lalaki kayo, training lang ako, maging magaling akong atleta. So, tapos yung first na laro ko is sa Batang Pinoy 2002. So doon namulat ang isipan ko na, wow, sa sports pala, marami akong mapupuntahan. Sa sports pala, magkakaroon ako ng pangarap. So, dahil sa sports, sa first competition ko na yun, although nag-gold ako kasi wala akong kalaban, okay lang. Pero nung second competition ko, silver ako kasi 6 kami. Pero doon ko napatunayan din na, doon ko nasabi na, oo, talo ako, pero kailangan mag-train na ako na mahigit. So next competition ko, nanalo ako sa Mindanao Friendship Games. At doon ako nakapasok sa national team. So yun din yung time na talagang nagbago yung buhay ko. Kasi nagkaroon ako ng scholarship dahil sa sports. Tapos nag-represent ako sa Pilipinas. Nakapaglaro ako sa SEA Games, Asian Games, Olympics. Nakapag-training ako sa China. Then, ang daming opportunities na ibigay sa akin dahil sa sports. Na-represent ako ng Pilipinas. Tapos pinakita din ng sports sa akin ng iba't ibang culture ng iba't ibang bansa, pagkain, iba't ibang taong nakikita ko. So yung perspective ko as a person nagbago rin. Dati nakikita ko lang isang corner ng bahay namin. Pero ngayon nakikita ko iba't ibang tao dahil sa sports. At dahil sa sports na na-cultivate ang attitudes ko as a person. Kasi to be a champion, I need to work hard to achieve my dream and never give up sa dream ko. Then, syempre yung patient, may mga instances na ayoko na, may mga time na hindi ko na alam kung anong gagawin ko pag may laro. So sabi ko, Lord, ikaw nang bahala, isusurrender ko lahat, prepared ako. So siguro kaya ako nanalo din sa Olympics dahil sinurrender ko kay God at naging prepared ako sa ginawa ko. So in general, ang sports, ang daming ginawa sa buhay ko. Scholarship, then trabaho, kasi ngayon nasa Philippine Air Force ako. So then, yung attitude ko na cultivate as an athlete and as a person, naging iba yung perspective ko. Yun, then, minahal ko lalo ang bansa natin dahil sa sports. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat. Alam ko na ang mga sinabi mo higit na magbibigay ng inspirasyon sa mga nakikinig, hindi lang po dito sa buong bansa, overseas, we're also on global webcast. So, kitang-kita kung paano kayo, ang sabi mo, you were molded through the sports. Ngayon naman po, nagagalak tayo na nakasama natin si Diane Castillejo Garcia. Katulad ng sinabi ni pinanonood talaga kayo noong pa because hindi lang siya celebrated sports caster pero ang mahalaga champion din siya sa tennis at nagagalak tayo na from her heavy schedule of all kinds of tapings and shows nandito siya para ibahagi rin ang kanyang kwento.
Thank you for inviting me, Ms. Alvarez, Senator Villar. Nice to meet you again, and thank you for pushing this bill. And Mrs. Pimentel, nice to meet you. Mr. Alvarez, Mr. Licao, how's your tennis? Thank you. Since our career, of course, always together sa sports events, SEA Games, Asian Games. Akiko, of course, I just realized almost 10 years younger than me, but of course she was the darling of the swimming pool and still involved in sports now, so that's wonderful. Hi, Delene, of course, much younger than me, but I was one of those who was waiting for her when she arrived from the Olympics, like Tulacan. Bumalik ako sa iyo kasi parang yung weightlifting, parang hindi talaga para sa babae, di ba? Pero sabi mo kanina, minahal mo ang weightlifting, so that's quite admirable. And I totally agree with all the values that you say sports has brought you. So more power, lalaban ka pa sa Olympics. Okay, tuloy na yung laban. And later, our news athletes are here to show us. Yeah, nice. Our news is one of those sports that we have featured in one of my shows, Sports Unlimited, which has been running for 20 years. We try to focus, my show, Sports Unlimited, now it's called Sports You, Ikaw Ang Panalo. It started with just regular sports and then we moved to covering traditional sports. We wanted to give coverage to the sports that don't really get on the limelight because we feel napakaraming talento ang mga Pilipino sa iba't ibang sports like Arnis, for example. And actually Arnis, in all my travels, it is really celebrated all over the world. So it's sayang lang that here, hindi masyado. No? But sa ibang bansa talagang tinitingala talaga yung mga Arnis masters ng Filipinos. So all my instructor is a Filipino Arnis master. They're so proud of it. So, I'm so thankful to God that it was part of God's plan, I guess, for me to be involved in this wonderful world of sports, thanks to my parents. My father, Nino Castillejo Jr., was a track athlete in La Salle. He was a 100 dash sprinter. He held the record for many years. And he was a member of the national football team that played in the Asian Games. And then he became the manager of the Philippine football team. and then he became a race car driver. So my mom naman, her father, who was from Zamboanga, a Spaniard from Zamboanga, that's why I can understand Chabacano. He was a very tall player. He was the first Philippine tennis champion in 1925 and 26. So I guess you can say sports really runs in my blood. And my father had, my mom and dad had a boy as our eldest. And then because he wanted more of his kids to be in sports, because my dad really wanted all his kids to be in sports, they kept trying to have more kids, more boys. Because before nga, it was really just boys who would do sports, right? So, but then my sister came out, and then me, and then my other sister, then my other sister. So as a result, all of us, 4 girls, are all into sports. And at one time, we were also a member of the national team in tennis, yeah. So I was basically grew up in the world of sports, and I used to think that life was all about training, winning, competing, and just getting better and working hard. That was my only goal as a child, aside from trying to do well in school, of course. Like Heidelin and Akika, I was able to represent the Philippines, and it was such an honor to wear the flag in the jacket, and I was also very, very shy before. Hard to believe, but I'm still pretty shy. But I learned about the world through sports. I was able to travel to almost every country representing the Philippines, and I played in the ITF junior circuit, and then later on I became a professional women's tennis player. So I played in the WTA circuit also, and then later when I retired, I joined broadcasting, and I didn't really plan it. It was just, I guess, again by God's great design. And so now I'm very, very happy after being a broadcast journalist for over 25 years now with ABS-CBN. I've been able to bring stories, the wonderful stories, inspiring stories of athletes like Haiden Nakiko, even our athletes who engage in traditional sports. Not only through television, but a lot through radio. Because sometimes when I would travel to countries, like example, when the Azkals were playing in, at that time, Myanmar, Mongolia, countries like that, we don't really have signals. So I would do a lot of broadcast always by radio. And the nice thing about radio is that isang tawag lang, it's like you're on the air na right away, so wala na masyadong maraming setup. And I was able to connect with so many people through the radio. I love reporting through radio because it's ad-lib, it's raw, it's real, it's passionate. And me, when I cover, I kind of get really intense kasi parang nararamdaman ko talaga yung nafe-feel ng athlete kapag lumalaban. So sometimes I feel like I wish I wasn't covering, I was just like cheering. In the SEA Games, where I was with Cynthia there, the last SEA Games in Malaysia, I saw Heidelin and I was so impressed with her. She wasn't even competing, but she was there for... Yun, si Nestor. Colonia, si Nestor Colonia. Lumalaban siya sa weightlifting. Mahirap talaga, malalaki yung mga kalaban. But wow, it was so nice to see a woman. I remember my story was more about how high you are. Come on, push. A woman was pushing a man, right? It was so reflective, I think, of the Filipino culture. No, we're strong women. We're strong women. Okay, but I must make it clear that we are strong, but by God's design, we are still to sort of submit. I mean, like, be a helpmeet, right? But I believe that women's role, a Filipino woman's role in sports is so vital, because if we engage in sports, we become stronger, and then we influence kasi the whole family. The husbands, the kids, like, now my son is a tennis player. I mean, he's passionate about it. I can't believe it, but anyway, I'm sure when you have kids, you'll also put them in, maybe not with I know your kids are in sports, right? So it's such a powerful tool, sports and radio. First sports, it's character building. You develop a sense of purpose, determination, fighting spirit, drive to excel, patience. It's just really discipline. I just feel like sports really makes better citizens most of the time. Because, and of course, it gives you this energy and desire for excellence that can spill over to your everyday life. Like, I mean, me, I try to be a good wife. I'm not very successful, but I try to be the best mom I can, the best wife, the best employee, you know, the best sister. So you really strive for excellence in every way. And I think that's a wonderful value that we can give to the whole nation. And then, of course, I'm doubly blessed to be able to broadcast, you know, this wonderful world that I belong to. So, again, I'm very thankful. If there's anything that, you know, I can do in my capacity, I'll be very happy to help.
Okay, thank you so much for insight into how you really had gotten into the world of sports. And now we're going to hear from another champion in the field of swimming. This I really connect. I never saw my father, but they used to tell me he was among the first Olympic or Asian swimmers from UP. So that's also the kind of sports. I'm not really in sports, but just for exercise, swimming. So it's good to hear from Akiko, the swimming champion.
Magandang umaga. Good morning. Thank you, Tita Cecil, Senator Villar, Mrs. Pimentel. Nice to meet you, Senator Alvarez, and all our panelists here. Lilian, my idol. Diane, of course, and Cynthia Carrion. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Gosh, I'm kind of wondering where to begin. I kind of want to echo so much of what these ladies have said. Sports has really shaped my life. I'm the youngest of three, and I started swimming at 6 years old for the pure fun of it. My brother and sisters were doing it, and I wanted to be with them. And so I joined swimming, and I had no aspirations of competing. I was just very competitive by nature, and I just enjoy. I enjoy. It's fun for me to compete. And so I started swimming at the Army Navy Club, a long time. And I started joining age group competitions, and then when I was 12 years old, I was invited to join the national team. And I was very scared because I knew I'd have to leave the comforts of home and the Army Navy Club, but I knew it was an opportunity I could not say no to. And so I joined the national team. I competed in my first Southeast Asian age group meet. And at that point, they were still debating about my citizenship because my father is American, my mother's Japanese, but I grew up here. I moved here when I was 6 months old, and I was naturalized as a Filipino for sporting reasons. So at my first international competition, everyone was like, is she Filipino? Filipino ba yan? So anyhow, long story short, they let me swim, but only for exhibition. So I won, but I couldn't take the medals. The following year, I went to my first Southeast Asian Games in Indonesia, and by the grace of God, won my very first gold medal in the 100-meter backstroke. And then, the next thing you know, I'm headed to my first Olympics in 1988 in Seoul, Korea, and it's, you know, I'm kind of compressing it, but there's obviously a lot of hard work, tears entailed. The government sent Eric Bohine and myself to the U.S. to train for one summer, and then it became 1 year, so I ended up living with a foster family, finishing my high school in the U.S. But I've been so blessed. None of these things I had dreamt of ever achieving as a result of my involvement in sport. I went on to compete in 5 Southeast Asian Games and 3 Olympics. I earned a scholarship in college, and I went to the University of California, Berkeley, and I swam for the school there. And it just, you know, all these wonderful opportunities that presented itself to me. I also dabbled a little bit in media. I came back and I joined a sports show called Game Plan for 5 years. Ours was a sports and adventure, and it was a lot of fun being able to still be in sports and in the media. And then in 2008, I was invited to join the Philippine Sports Commission as one of the commissioners at the PSC, and I was also government. Never in my wildest dreams had I thought of joining government, but I realized it was a wonderful opportunity, not just to be involved in swimming, which I have been at this whole duration, but to help sports in general and to oversee a wider scale. And I was there for 8 years, and while I was there as a lone female commissioner, I oversaw the things that we separated the sports, but one of the things that I was in charge of was the gender and development and differently abled athletes, which I really appreciated working with. We had a lot of, what I found when I was at the PSC is that there were a lot of, like in the national team, 40% are women, thereabouts. But when you come to coaches or when you get to leadership positions in sports, very low. Only 20%, if at all, of women oversee the different sport association, national sport associations. So that's what I was trying to get speakers to help these women rise up in their roles, leadership capacity in sports, because it's really a male-dominated world. But anyhow, again, the only reason that I was able to enter media, to enter government, it was because of my involvement in sports, and really it's just all the wonderful opportunities that came my way. I'm currently now running a swim school, so I'm still in sports, sharing my love, learn to swim. It's a passion of mine because swimming for me is a life skill, especially because we're in an archipelago. People need to know how to swim because it can save your life or someone you love. So I'm very happy that I find myself here running a swim school. But yeah, I'm happy to support in whatever capacity I can. Really, again, sports has shaped and molded who I am, and I echo really what Diane was saying. I really feel for the youth especially, it's such a wonderful thing to be trained in. Just the whole discipline, learning how to sacrifice, learning how to say no, learning how to set goals for yourself, and learning how to lose, to win. And you know, it's just these things you carry on through life, and it's just good journey. So, maraming salamat, and thank you, Tita Cecil, again for inviting me.
And now we will hear from a very staunch advocate, Cynthia Carrion, and she's been, as you've heard already, she was chief of mission to the 2017 SEA Games in Kuala Lumpur. She's of course known as the president of the Philippine Gymnastics Association, but also on the international arena. All of her efforts have been recognized with a special Women in Sports Award by the International Olympics in Lausanne. And so that's Cynthia. Oh yeah,
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Cecil. Cynthia, my tokaya, Senator. And of course, Mrs. Rintel, who I know very well, who's a good friend. Of course, the former senator, who I still was one of the best senators we had, and all of you. Anyway, my job is really to give you I echo everything that they say. I cannot repeat because I deal with all these athletes. As I was a Philippine commissioner, I've always been in sports all my life, and I'm now appointed as chair of the Women in Sports. So before I start, I want to say how important sports is in everywhere in the world. And I want to quote Mandela, what Nelson Mandela said. He said, sports has the power to change the world. Mandela said, it has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to the youth in a language that they understand. Sports can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than government in breaking down racial barriers. I think really sports is so important, and I'm urging all these radio announcers to talk more on sports, even the TV program. Why don't you have more programs about sports? I'm glad Diane is here. You're really promoting sports. But we need more, you know? We need more talk about sports, because even if you go all over the world, the newspaper, all about sports, maybe 10 pages, but the Philippines only 1 or 2. Why like that? There's so many things to talk about in sports and to learn what's happening here, no? I want to, my role as a woman in sports, I have a lot of data on this, boring data, because the exciting things was already mentioned by Akiko, Diane, and Heidelin, and yes, and I'm going to also demonstrate. So I just want to give you a little data of the women. The International Olympic Committee encourages national Olympic federations to at least, in all their board, they have to at least have 2 women in sports, 2 women in their board. And I call all the NSAs, NSAs means the National Sports Association. I'm part of the Philippine Olympic Committee. I call all of them to have at least, if they have a 5-man board, they're all men, at least 1 should be a woman. If they have a 7, at least 2 should be a woman. You know, but no, most of them are all men. And whenever I sit in a board in sports, all men, I feel like an only woman left. So it's nice to have the people like Adeline, she won. I wish someday she would be in a boardroom, not only as a sportswoman, but in a board telling the people what sports are about. You know, we need more sports women. There was never been a chairwoman for the Philippine Sports Commission. It's always a man. And like she said, she was the only commissioner. When I was also a commissioner, I was the only woman. So it is really a man's job, and we want more women. And I have, but it is quite boring, this data on women gender in sports. So yes, I will just tell you the last page. I will become like Duterte. I will not read everything. I will just say it, because Duterte likes not to read too much. He just wants to say. Now I just want to read about these. Adults in the Philippines say their health is not as good as 5 years ago. All of them say that. Which I think as you all get older, you should get healthier. And I'm getting younger every year. I feel 30 years younger now. About, yes, I exercise. About 44% of adults in the Philippines are overweight, due mainly to insufficient exercise and poor food habits. 74% of adults in the Philippines say they exercise regularly, but on average, adults in the Philippines exercise only 2.1 hours, lower than the regional average of 3 hours, and well below the most expert would recommend. Unhealthy eating habits are very common here in the Philippines. In conclusion, there's much to do to encourage women and girls to engage in sports and active lifestyle. Leadership in sports must initiate the spread of advocacy. Philippine Sports Commission and Philippine Olympic Committee must increase the number of women in their respective boards. National Sports Association need to develop more sports disciplines for women. Women athletes must be given more opportunities for high-performing training. More women athletes must consider getting into sports broadcast and journalism career over the athletic career, as they greatly help spread and develop the advocacy. So I really appreciate the